So I think we've covered enough about events for now to keep us moving onwards. So the next thing I'd like to show you is how to conditionally render parts of your template based on some condition. So, like in regular JavaScript, we have these conditional statements whereby we say, if a certain condition is true, then do something inside this code block. If this evaluates to false, then don't do this thing inside the code block and skip over it. So we can do the same kind of thing in Vue templates, whereby we're saying, okay, if a certain condition is true, I want you to show this HTML element on the page. If it's false, I don't want you to show it. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, what I'd like to do is come up to the top and create a data property on here called show name. And I'm going to set that to true to begin with. Now, what I'd like to do is when this property on our Vue instance is true, I'd like to show a p tag on the page with a name in it. When it's not true, if this is false, I'd like to not show that p tag on the page so it doesn't show. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, first of all, let's create that p tag over here, p, and then inside I'll just type the name Mario. Okay, so how do I conditionally output this p tag dependent on what this value is? Well, I can use a directive called v-if, so v-if, and set that equal to something. And this thing in here, this is what is evaluated, and if this is true, then it's going to show this p tag on the page. If it's false, then it's not going to render this p tag to the page. Now, we want this v-if to evaluate this property right here, show name. So let's set it equal to show name. So currently this is true, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this element should render to the page, and it does. We see Mario. But if we were to change this to false now, then it shouldn't show on the page, and it doesn't. Awesome. So now we're conditionally outputting an element based on a data property, whether this is true or false. So I'd like to be able to easily visually see this toggle on and off on the web page. So to do that, what I'll do is create a button which is going to fire an event which will change the status of that show name property. If it's false, change it to true. If it's true, change it to false. So we can click that and see it appear and disappear on the page. So let's create a button first of all, and we'll attach an event, a click event to it. This is going to equal a function, and this function will be called toggle name. Now, we've not created this function just yet. Now, I also want to say show name, because that's the variable name, and I'm going to output that to the button as well so we can see the current status of that variable. So if I save this, then we'll get an error because this function is not created yet, but we can see that show name is currently false. So when I click this, I want to change it to true, and if it's true, I want to change it to false, etc. So now let's create this toggle name function over here. So inside methods, toggle name. So what we want to do inside this method is change the value of show name. If it's false, change it to true. If it's true, change it to false. Now the way we do that is by saying this dot show name. This is what we're updating, and we want to set it equal to whatever this is not. So we use the not operator to do that, and that negates the current value. So if it's currently false, it will reverse it to true. So if I put the not operator, which is an exclamation mark, in front of this dot show name, it's going to take the current value of this dot show name, reverse it, and then set it equal to this dot show name. So we're updating it with the opposite of what it currently is. So if I save this and view it in a browser, you can see currently it's set to false, and we don't see that name output to the template. But if I click on this, we're changing it to true, and then we do see it. Click it again, change it to false. Click it again, change it to true. So now we're toggling the status of this variable and outputting this element based on that status. Now, if we inspect this element, just to show you that it disappears, you can see it's right there in the template. If I click on this now, you can see it disappear, and it's replaced by this little comment. And if we click it again, it reappears in the DOM. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, I want to take this one step further now. So, like in JavaScript, we have an else statement. So we check a condition. If it's true, then we execute some code for that condition. If it's not true, then we can move on to an else statement. Again, we can do the same kind of thing in our Vue.js templates. So if I was to come underneath this thing right here and say p, and this time we'll do an age, so 25. And what I'd like to do is set this to viv as well to begin with. So this will be called show age, and we need to create that property over here. So show age, and we'll set that equal to true to begin with. Now what we'll also do is create a method which is going to toggle this. So let's copy toggle name and paste toggle age underneath, and we'll say this.showAge is going to be equal to the reverse of this.showAge. So again, we're going to call this method to toggle this value right here. So let's save that and create another button now. So let me copy this dude and paste it down below. And this will be set to toggle age instead, and this will be show age, and this variable output will be show age. Okay, so let's save that and view this in a browser. Now you can see show age is true, so we're seeing that on the page, and show name is false. If I click this, then show name is true as well, so we see both of them. Now if I click on this one, show age is false, and we don't see that. Show age is true, and we do. And this all works. Now, I wanted to show you the else statement because at the minute, we're not using any kind of else statements. These are two separate v-ifs. So what if I now say v-else -if? Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to save this, and they're both set to true now. So true and true. Now, Mario shows, but the age doesn't, okay? If Mario doesn't show, then the age does, unless we turn it to false. So when they're both true, only the name is showing. So what's going on? Well, it's the same as in regular JavaScript. First of all, we're checking this condition. We're saying if this is true, then show Mario. And then don't do anything else. Don't even run the else statement, much like regular JavaScript. So if this is true, then age will never, ever show. Now then, if this is false, then what we'll do is perform the next check, the else check, to say, okay, well, else, if show age is true, then show 25. If it's not true, don't show it. But it's only ever going to show if this is true and this is false. Okay? So there we go. That's v-if and v-else-if. But when would be an example of when we'd really use this? Well, maybe we have certain elements on a page we'd only show to logged in users. So we could perform some kind of check to see if a user's login status is true or false, and then show or hide content appropriately. And that's just one example.